Thank you, Drew Brees, for getting us started. Hello, everybody. Alongside Lindsey Rhodes, I'm Dan Helly. Questions are aplenty going into Week 14 of the Cowboys finally found their groove. Will the Eagles and Falcons rebound? We're going to have those answers on the way with Sean O'Hara and Reggie Wayne.
First, though, it was tough to watch. The last game of Week 13, which featured a number of uncomfortably violent moments, and certainly none more so than the one that led to Ryan Shazier's hospitalization in Cincinnati. According to a joint statement from his doctors, he has a spine injury. He's being treated by neurosurgery experts, and he is expected to remain in the hospital for another 24 to 48 hours. We're not getting a lot of details about his condition, but this is probably a good sign right here. Shazier tweeting just about a half hour ago, "Thank you for the prayers. Your support is uplifting to me and my family," and probably his teammates as well, who were no doubt shaken by what they saw.
Obviously, with him being back there in Cincinnati, I'm not getting all the reports right away, but I've heard some really encouraging things. A lot of things that, the Steelers put out reports and kind of updates, I know, from Kevin Colbert and some other people. So I'm kind of hearing the same thing, just some encouraging things, but not out of the woods. Obviously, continued prayers for him and his family, I think, are the best thing that he could get right now.
That was Ben Roethlisberger today before another one of his teammates, Juju Smith-Schuster, was suspended for a game for his actions on this hit. A hit that the Vice President of Football Operations, John Runyon, referred to as an unnecessary blindside shot with taunting afterward that fell, quote, far below the standards of sportsmanship expected of an NFL player. Also suspended, Bengals safety George Iloka, who, according to Runyon, violently struck a defenseless receiver in the head and neck area. As you see here, the receiver was Antonio Brown, who caught a touchdown on the play but stayed down for a few seconds afterward. Both hits occurred on the same drive, about 4 minutes of football apart, in a game and rivalry that has become increasingly brutal, with 29 extracurricular penalties since 2015. That is 11 more than the next closest rivalry, the Rams and Niners out west. And if the on-field actions in this one weren't bad enough, there is this from the locker room after the game. The voice that you're going to hear off camera is Antonio Brown.
I mean, in a situation like that, when there's so much stuff going on, and I didn't know it was Burfict at first. All I saw was, the first Bengals dude that was going to tackle Le'Veon. So in my instinct, I got a block from my teammate, and me just playing ball, I hit him. After I seen the replay, I think I should have held back a little bit more and just, from blocking him.
I ain't sure. I got straight cash on him.
I also believe that's not me. I should never stood over him. I apologize for that. And
it's called karma.
With that being said,
it's called
I hope he gets better.
I believe that is what they call a mixed message there. Also, Exhibit A, that maybe the bad blood has gone a little bit too far, Mike Garafolo.
Yeah, well, you saw or you heard Antonio Brown there, and I am told that Burfict, when he was down, could hear Steelers players saying things along the lines of, "We got you," and "stay down." So this rivalry framed this suspension here, and what you're seeing from the NFL, certainly in the case of Juju Smith-Schuster, who did not have previous incidents as far as dirty plays or illegal plays, is the NFL is starting to act faster on these things. One egregious hit will get it done. It used to be that you'd get fined, then you'd get fined a little more, then you'd get fined a little more, and finally after that, and those messages didn't get through, then you'd get suspended. Well, you're seeing it right now. I mean, George Iloka has had some hits in the past, but he's not necessarily known as a dirty player, and they got him too. Now, he's going to make the case that I was just trying to separate the receiver from the football there. He came down, I turned my head, we just happened to make a head-to-head collision. With Juju Smith-Schuster, you can't do that. You can't run parallel to the line of scrimmage and deliver a blow like that. So we shall see with these appeals that I'm told are going to be heard tonight, and the league will try and get an announcement here, the jointly appointed arbitrator. We shall see if these guys can get one of these suspensions or both overturned.
Well, the good news, we've got about a year to figure all of this out. These two teams not set to face each other again unless the Bengals can somehow find a way into the playoffs. And at 5-7, that is not looking likely. Back to our top story, and the one that I just could not stop thinking about last night. That was Ryan Shazier, hospitalized with a spine injury that left him motionless from the waist down on the field. He immediately grabbed his back. He was placed on a backboard. He was carted off the field, leaving behind very concerned teammates and coaches.
Man, Ryan's a trooper. Had an opportunity to spend some time with him, man. He's in really good spirits. Tough guy. He's got great support from family and loved ones there. It was painful to kind of get on that plane last night. But you know, that's life. We realize and understand that he's in really good hands and is getting expert medical care. And he also challenged us to move on with what it is that we need to move on, that he's with us as well.
Aditi Kinkhabwala with us. Now you've been monitoring this story closely. What is the latest that you can pass along?
Well, Lindsay, as you said, the Steelers have released a new statement today. There are not too many details, but there are some changes. One, they are officially calling that collision that leveled Shazier a spine injury. The other thing, there was hope that Shazier could return to Pittsburgh today. Now the Steelers are saying he'll undergo further tests and evaluation over the next day or two and hopefully become stable enough in that time to return here. But as you saw from Mike Tomlin, he was extremely emotional today. Further on in the day, he talked about the professional brotherhood on this team, how tight this team is. We've heard him say repeatedly he believes this team has something special, and he referred to that again. He said that often when there are unique outcomes on the football team, it's because of how close teammates and coaches with their players are. He said that's what you have here. And Lindsay, what we shouldn't lose sight of in all of this is that Ryan Shazier is really honestly the heartbeat of this team's defense. He is universally liked in this locker room, and he is also a player who always makes times for things outside of football. He suffers from alopecia. It's an autoimmune disease that has left him without hair. He will always make time for any young student who writes to him or asks him for his advice if they also are suffering from alopecia. This is a player that the Steelers feel very, very connected to, not just any teammate. And, of course, here we're just waiting for further word.
Aditi Kinkhabwala live in Pittsburgh. Thank you very much, Aditi.
Here's a look at the remaining schedule for the Steelers, and it does not get any easier in weeks 14 and 15. Ravens and Patriots coming up next. Reggie Wayne, Sean O'Hara, joining me here now. Steelers come back from 17 down to beat the Bengals. Now it's that brutal two-game stretch starting against Baltimore without your second-best wide receiver and without one of your best defensive players in Ryan Shazier. What do they need to do to tighten things up to make sure that they don't lose to the Ravens and the Patriots?
Well, first and foremost, this is a great rivalry. So the emotion that they're going to have to draw from on a short week, they're going to have to charge up their batteries pretty quickly. This matchup is always huge. When I played for the Browns, I used to get goosebumps when we played at the Steelers. They played this montage to lead up to the game. It's such a great battle area right there. So they're going to be fired up. But really, you just talked about coming from behind. The Steelers cannot, against Baltimore, expect to be down 17-0 and still rally in the fourth quarter. And I think it really leads to Ben's got to take care of the football. I think 3 interceptions in the last 2 games. I think he's got to be very careful about the pressure that Baltimore's going to apply. Baltimore's doing a great job leading the NFL in turnovers right now, but it's because of the pressure. It's not just up front. It's not just T. Sizzle going up against Alejandro Villanueva. They bring a lot of nickel blitzes, a lot of safety blitzes. Eric Weddle's around the line of scrimmage. He's flying back. So that defense is going to be tough to handle.
It's funny you say that, and it is a great rivalry. But one thing about it, they know each other. It's a division opponent. The last 22 times these guys have played, they've split 11-11. But 16 of those games has been decided by 7 points or less. So they know what they're going to get. They know what they're going to get when they play Baltimore. They know they're going to get it when they play Cleveland. Also, when they play Cincinnati. But they're not worrying about that. They know that whoever has the ball last in this game is probably going to win it. They're worrying later on.
Might be a kicker.
Exactly. You never know. You never know. They're worrying later on when they play the New England Patriots.
You're still telling me they're thinking more about that game than they are this next game against the Ravens?
Oh, yeah. They know what they're going to get when they play the Ravens. They know. It's no different than when we were playing in our division, the AFC South. We knew we was going to get. We played Tennessee, Texans, and Jacksonville. We knew what that game was going to be. But we had to worry about the New England Patriots. That was the hill we had to get over. That was our nemesis. We had to find a way to get over that hump. They're going to play it. It's going to be a slugfest. We know that. Those games are always tough games whenever they play each other. But they know in the back of their mind, the following week, the New England Patriots will be waiting, and they know to get to where they want to get to, you got to beat those guys.
I know this. Mike Tomlin will not let this team look through a divisional rival, but not having Jimmy Smith for Baltimore, that could be huge.
Oh, yeah.
Could end up being a big day for Antonio Brown.
Well, and on the defensive side of the ball for the Steelers, Ryan Shazier's not there. Joe Hayden, remember, still not there either.
Right.
He's targeting a comeback week 15, which would be against the Patriots. They're going to need him for sure. Thanks, fellas.
First game of Week 14 is just a couple of days away now, and it is a huge one in the NFC South. Saints coming off a win against the Panthers on Sunday, now prepping to face their other divisional challenger in Atlanta on a short week with a lot on the line. Jane Slater, how are they navigating this one there in Metairie?
Well, Lindsay, the goal for them is obviously getting the playoffs, and then after that, the championship game, something they did in 2009 when they won the Super Bowl. But their offensive game plan is different than in years past. This year, Drew Brees is on pace to have his fewest passing attempts of his career, based largely in part to the success of his running backs, those guys Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. And talking to his teammate, tackle Teron Armstead, he said, Drew Brees is the most underrated future Hall of Famer out there. He said elite doesn't even begin to describe him. And all you have to do is just watch Brees' very elaborate pregame warm-up. I've watched him in a couple of these games going through repetitive, very intricate exercises. And I finally was able to ask him what that's all about. And he said, what that's about is tricking your mind to let it know that it's ready and that you deserve to be successful based on the preparation that you've put in. And of course, as we talk to some of these other aging quarterbacks, I hate to use that number because I'm up there in age in my late 30s. At 38, I said, are you doing anything like the TB12 method or even the younger guys like Kirk Cousins do the saliva testing? He says he's done it all, from cupping to pod therapy to the saliva testing to a superfood diet, whatever it takes to be in his best condition possible. But he really is playing youthful for a 38-year-old this season. Lindsay?
More from Metairie on the way. Jane, one-on-one with Drew Brees and the leader in the clubhouse for Offensive Rookie of the Year, Alvin Kamara. In the meantime, let's check in on the other clubhouse in this one, coming off a disappointing loss in Week 13, in which Atlanta's offense, rolling in Weeks 8 through 12, grinded to a stop against Minnesota. Just 273 total yards. That's just 20 more than Julio had by himself the previous week. Obviously, the Vikings defense deserves a lot of credit for that, but I'm sure there's some soul-searching taking place in Flowery Branch as well. That is where Tiffany Blackman joins us now. How do they get back on track, Tiffany?
Well, Lindsay, Julio was asked if he was frustrated with the offense, and he said frustrated is a negative word. I'm not a negative person. And he playfully told us all that he knows what the headlines would be had he used the word frustrated. What he would say, though, about Sunday's loss was this: 9 points. We're way better than 9 points. And he outlined what they need to do to get rolling again.
Just stay aggressive. Just move the ball around. Just get it in the playmakers' hands on the team offensively, and just go out here and just try to. We got to score points. Field goals are good, but touchdowns are better. We got to score touchdowns. We got to find ways to score touchdowns. We really just got to work on us right now, just trying to figure out ways for us to, just get grooving, making plays and scoring touchdowns.
Now, quarterback Matt Ryan, he came out and said that the defense put on a winning performance, but that the offense did not pull their weight in that loss on Sunday. They're obviously expecting a different outcome on Thursday, Lindsay. And Matt Ryan has had a pretty good career against the Saints. In 17 games, he has averaged close to 300 yards and has 30 touchdowns.
Saints and Falcons separated in the NFC South by 2 games with 2 head-to-head matchups left on the schedule. For more on what to expect, let's send it over to Dan and the guys.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram have posed matchup problems for just about everybody. Let's break down for a minute, Reg, what kind of problems they're going to pose for the Falcons.
Well, normally when you're talking about the New Orleans Saints and Who Dat Nation, it's normally Drew Brees and his arm throwing for 5,000 yards.
Airing it out.
But this year, it's totally different. Sean Payton has found a run game. Now you have Mark Ingram sitting up here running in between the tackles, led by what you need, Sean, a good offensive line. Larry Walford and the fullback, Zach Line.
See you, Max.
For the second consecutive week where Mark Ingram have had a run of 70-plus yards or more. And he sits up here and puts my main man, Mike Adams, in a spin cycle right here. He don't know where he is right here. But that's what you get when you get a run game going, and Mark Ingram is finishing it at the end. And now you got Alvin Kamara, who can do the run game, but his catching ability is what separates him. When he runs that jailbreak screen, which everybody blocks for him, seems like, except Drew Brees right here. But when he gets the ball in his hand, his punt return mentality, he can make a short catch, become a big gain. I'm sure Sean Payton told him stop jumping over guys like that. But that's one thing you get with these New Orleans Saints. They got playoff football mentality where it's football time, playoff time. You have to be able to run the ball, and they can do that.
The New Orleans Times-Picayune is trying to come up with a nickname for Kamara and Ingram. So they had a little poll in the newspaper. These are the leading 4 vote getters. Boom and Zoom, Crescent City Combo, Hustle and Muscle. I like that.
Oh, I like
Hustle and Muscle.
How about just Two Dat?
Two Dat?
Two Dat.
You like that?
That's
Does
clean.
that work for you?
I like the hustle and muscle.
I like
Hustle and Muscle,
and
pretty.
Muscle.
That's my favorite too. The Falcons defense gave up 14 points to the Vikings, but it could have been a lot worse, especially if they were playing against a guy like Drew Brees. Show me what they have to worry about here now.
Yeah, I mean, a little role reversals. Reggie's talking run game. I'm talking about the passing game. I don't know what's going on here on Tuesday here on Total Access, but here's what I saw when I watched the film. Yes, the 2 touchdowns Case came through, but points on the board is what they left. They're faking the ghost screen right here to Latavius Murray. Look at the corners peeking in the backfield. They see this receiver kind of slow down. They think it's ghost screen. They let Adam Thielen run right through their defense. Keanu Neal, he's hustling over there because he thought for sure that was a deep ball going over their head. And it wasn't just one play, Reg.
What you got?
Watch Case Keenum on play action right here. Look at all these defenders. What are they so concerned about? They're trying to stop the run. They want to be aggressive. Well, it draws them all in. And look at my man Robert Alford over here.
Is he
He's
open?
saying, hey, you got Thielen.
Over there.
He's trying to pass him off. This is cover 3 right here. And nobody's covered Thielen. Now, Case Keenum didn't see it. Throws the check down right here. But I know who did see that. I know Sean Payton is seeing that while he's watching film. And now you've got the run game that Reggie was just talking about with the 1-2 punch with hustle and muscle. And now you've got Sean Payton, who loves to attack defenses. He's looking at these coverages saying, oh, hey, Drew, I think we got a couple of route combinations. We're going to hit those passes. We're going to score more than 14 points. So that's what Atlanta's got to – they got to work on that coverage. They got to make sure they're sound. They don't want to get into a shootout now with the Saints.
No. The Saints offense, 6.4 yards per play, number 1 in the NFL. Alvin Kamara, every time he touches the ball, 8.4 yards per touch. And I love the fact that Sean's just already gone ahead and said hustle and muscle is going to be the nickname. That's your vote?
I like it.
All right.
I think we should do it. And it's not because you're busting out of your suit.
What do you mean? My vote's hustle and muscle. Flex off.
I like that one too. Patriots, guys, have the Dolphins Monday, and they will not have Rob Gronkowski. The league announcing this afternoon that his appeal of his 1-game suspension for these actions in Sunday's game against the Bills was denied. Arbitrator Derek Brooks upholding the 1-game ban. Speaking of 1 game, that is all it's going to be on the bench for Eli Manning. According to Mike Garafolo, number 10 will be back under center to start the game on Sunday, replacing Geno Smith as the Giants starter 1 day after the firing of head coach Ben McAdoo. Still to come on